Have you ever just sat at home and been completely bored? You sit there looking out your window, pondering, and you're just wondering to yourself, I wish I had something to do right now. Well, the next time you're sitting at home, have nothing to do, and you just resort to binge watching your favorite TV show on Netflix. Instead, pull out a Sudoku puzzle and get your brain working. Sudoku puzzles not only stimulate your mind, but according to lifehack.org, they can also help improve your memory, your concentration, and by keeping your brain active, they can help reduce your chances of Alzheimer's. Now, at this point, you're probably wondering, what even is Sudoku? Sudoku is a numerical 9x9 puzzle composed of 9 rows and columns, each split into 9 boxes, each full of 9 different squares. Now, this may seem completely confusing, which is why I'm going to be talking about the history of Sudoku, how to play, and different tips and strategies on how to successfully complete a puzzle. Now, some of you may not even have heard of or have even played the game Sudoku before, but don't feel alone because it was just introduced in the world in 1979. The original game of Sudoku we know today, according to the Sudoku.com, was brought into the world by a man named Howard Garnes from Connersville, Illinois, and he based it off of a game in the 18th centuries from a Swiss game called Latin Squares. Sudoku was first published in 2 magazines in 1979, and it was titled Number Place. Sudoku didn't get its name until it first appeared in Japan in 1984. The word Sudoku translates from a short Japanese phrase as the digits are limited to one occurrence, which basically summarizes how to actually play the game. Sudoku, while being introduced in Japan, it became so popular throughout the country that people were buying over 600,000 Sudoku magazines a month. But it didn't get popular worldwide, although, until a New Zealand judge named Wayne Gould went on a trip to Tokyo in 1997 and was completely intrigued by Sudoku puzzles. He was so fascinated that he spent the next 6 years developing and generating a computer program that could generate Sudoku puzzles. With this enhancement, Sudoku became an even bigger phenomenon, being published in books and magazines and newspapers all around the world. In fact, the Conway Daily Sun newspaper would first publish Sudoku puzzles in 2004. It was the first United States newspaper to feature them. Sudoku became so huge that there are now World Championship Sudoku tournaments everywhere around the world. In fact, there's one per year, and there has been for the past 13 years. Sudoku can be a hard game to learn, but after I get done explaining how to play, I hope you're ready to enter a World Championship also. The objective of Sudoku is to get each number 1 through 9 in each row, column, and box without repeating any numbers. So let's take a look at this example. In the middle box, you can see the numbers 1, 2, 4, and 9, and they're missing the numbers 3, 6, 7, and 8. The key is to pay attention to a particular spot in the puzzle and use the neighboring numbers around to help you figure out what numbers you can use in each box. So let's start with the number 3. There is a 3 located below the middle box in the right vertical column. And since there can only be 1 3 in each row, column, and box, that means that there cannot be a 3 in that right vertical row to the right of the middle box, which means that the 3 can only go into the left 2 open squares. And since we cannot yet determine where the 3 can go, it is common for people to put the 3 in both boxes just smaller and in the corner and save it for later. Now let's move on to the number 6. There is a 6 above the middle box in the right vertical row, and there is also a 6 to the left on the bottom row. This leaves only the top left corner for the 6, which then eliminates the fact that a 3 can't go in that spot, so it has to go in the bottom left corner. Now let's move on to number 7. There is a 7 to the right of the middle box in the top row, which means the 7 has to go in the bottom right corner of the middle box, and that leaves our last number, 8, to belong in the top right corner. Now that you know how to play, you're probably wondering what are some of the best and easiest strategies and tips to successfully complete a puzzle, which is my next point. The 3 tips that I can give you that will help you while completing a Sudoku puzzle are to never guess, use process of elimination, and never repeat any numbers. If you guess, you're almost prone to make a mistake, and that can hurt you while you're playing the game. If you use process of elimination, it's one of the easiest ways to successfully complete the puzzle, because some of the other ways of completion are harder. And never repeat any numbers. That's one of the key things in Sudoku, as you can't complete the puzzle if you repeat any numbers. Now, some of the useful strategies that I like to use The first one that I like to use is to pay attention to the middle box first. If you complete the middle box first, then the boxes surrounding it will be a lot easier to solve. I also like to pay attention to the boxes that have the most numbers, because if there's more numbers in those boxes, then it's a lot easier to fill them out rather than paying attention to boxes that don't have a lot of numbers. Sudoku of the day provided another interesting but also successful strategy, which is called the single candidate strategy. It makes you go through the whole entire puzzle by putting every single number that can go in each open square until you find single candidates or the one number that can go in that square. Once you find single candidates, you can then eliminate them from each row, column, and box that they're in, since there can only be one of them. And then you'll eventually produce more single candidates and you'll finish the puzzle. The next time you do a Sudoku puzzle like the one in front of you, I hope you use one of these strategies to help you successfully complete it. Now, Sudoku can be a complicated game to understand, so I'm going to recap on the 3 components of Sudoku I talked about today. I first talked about the history of Sudoku, then I talked about how to play, and lastly, I talked about different tips and strategies to help you successfully complete a puzzle. Now, Sudoku is a fun and interesting way to get your brain working, whether that be you're bored at home or you're waiting at the dentist or doctor's office. But Sudoku can not only improve your memory and concentration, but according to the Telegraph, it can also help you get rid of that one song that's been stuck in your head all day, as long as it's not too hard for the person doing them. So the next time we have a snow day or you have that one particular song stuck in your head, do a few Sudoku puzzles and your brain will think.